Welcome back to the Conor McGilligan channel, everybody, where we have a specific look at general footballing matters. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing if you like the content on the channel. And let's get into today's video. So today I wanted to speak about Sunderland and their goings on in this January transfer window, which has definitely piqued my interest, and I know a lot of others' interest. And there's a specific player of who they are interested in, which is quite staggering. So Sunderland have had a really good start to the season, in my opinion. I'm sort of one content creator who has been heaping a lot of praise on them with where they are, with where they've been. Sunderland, obviously very recently in League One, currently in the Championship, and their data-driven model has essentially driven down their average age of the squad. And I think a lot of what Sunderland do is either, it works, or sort of, and you stay within the club, or it works and we sell you on for a good profit, which you might get for Joe Bellingham in this window, with Crystal Palace interested for 20 million quid, of which Sunderland have said they might listen to. But bringing through stars like Chris Rigg, they've managed to sort of pick Try Hume out of absolutely nowhere, and they just seem to produce these player after player after player. And I always said a couple of years ago, actually in 2022, when it started coming to the fore a bit, this recruitment model, which came through obviously their new owners at that moment in time, I started to say at some point with the recruitment, this is gonna start turning a little bit. And it was based a little bit loosely on Brentford's recruitment model as well, which has been so successful. But Sunderland seem to be working right now in a really good way, which has got them to 4th in the division. It's a massive increase on what they've done last season, and they're bringing in profiles like Isidore, an athletic, physically imposing striker who also has that level of pace, which could definitely be transitioned to the Premier League. And I think that's what Sunderland are targeting right now. But a really good start to the season. But interestingly enough, they are now linked with Lorient, former Lorient developmental midfielder Enzo Le Fée. Now, Le Fée is one of these players who's on the circuit who is seen as a very, very good player. 24 years of age, diminutive in stature, but that creative and innovative brain of which puts him in a very good category when it comes to midfielders and desired midfielders in the Premier League, never mind the Championship. So who is Enzo Le Fée? What will he bring to this Sunderland team? And could this genuinely be the signing, not only of this window, but of the season if Sunderland get it done? But in his early career, he rose through the ranks at FC Lorient under Regis Le Bris, obviously current Sunderland manager, where he became the heartbeat of their midfield. He's a box-to-box midfielder with creativity and that technical skill that is going to get you to that next level. It 100% will, and could be that, as I say, marginal gain that gets you into that top two. What I specifically like about Enzo Le Fée is his footballing brain. Now, his 23 million euro transfer to Roma hasn't quite worked out. He's only played 10 games, and it's quite interesting how Sunderland have done this before, and I'm going to sort of bring it back to sort of a high-profile player at one time who hasn't really got going at that next club, and it was Jack Clarke. Jack Clarke, obviously, who they picked up from Tottenham. He bought from Leeds United for 10 million quid. Didn't quite work out, but Sunderland picked him up, needed to revitalise his career, and boy, did he do that at Sunderland. It didn't work for him out at QPR, went to Sunderland, and the boy was reborn. And you do wonder if they're looking at someone like Enzo Le Fée and thinking we can do the same thing here. What are you going to get at Sunderland? You are going to get minutes. You are going to get time, and the young players definitely do get that sort of moment in front of big crowds, big settings at Sunderland, big pressure to develop and harness whatever it is that Sunderland give them that is going to make them a better player. The whole talking point here is, everybody, that sometimes players like Jack Clarke, who have thrived at Sunderland, a lot of people had the doubts about Joe Bellingham, although that is a bit of a different setting coming from Birmingham. A lot of people frowned at that. Really, Sunderland, is he ready? Sunderland gave him that chance, and Le Fée could be an absolute representation, even maybe on the highest scale, for Sunderland to do this again. Now, why do Sunderland need him? Well, I don't think he'd come in as a like-for-like physical replacement for Joe Bellingham. I think Le Fée is a bit of a different player to him. But what he does provide is some serious technical ability, which is creativity as well in that midfield. Sunderland, with Joe Bellingham, have that athletic presence who is able to drive with the ball. Chris Rigg is a little bit more defensive, but also Chris Rigg can get forward, throws himself forward, as we've seen this season, of course. But he provides something a little bit different, Enzo Le Fée. I see him as maybe a little bit of a replacement or a substitution for someone like Dan Neil. I think Dan Neil is industrious. He's sort of that combative player, but does he have that element of creativity that Le Fée has? I don't think he does. So it gives you another arm to your midfield, someone like Le Fée coming in and not only being able to do the dirty stuff, but being able to do the good stuff very well. We know as well that when you get a creative player from deep, it can be completely harmful. If you've got that ability to not only make things happen from deep and connect the midfield to the attack and really help players like Isidore and Meander out, you do also have that ability with Le Fée to maybe put him in an advanced role, in maybe a number 8 role, and he will produce. Now, the beautiful thing is when he moved from Lorient to Roma, he wanted the best fee for Lorient. He was a very, very loyal player there, and he wanted them to get the maximum fee, and he got that with a 23 million euro signing. Now, why is this positive for Sunderland fans? Well, it just shows that he values loyalty, and linking up with someone like Regis Le Bris, who gave him that chance, gave him that step forward and helped his career at such a young age. That could be the bridge for Sunderland to get him. Obviously, Le Bris being there is even why this is a conversation, but that loyalty and coming back to someone you know, especially when Le Fée's career right now isn't at the utmost, but we know he's a quality player, could be absolutely perfect. What you would say there is the connection with Regis Le Bris means that it's going to be a smooth flow, a smooth connection, and a smooth transition into that Sunderland 11. Now, the transfer details are really interesting here because we know that Le Fée isn't going to go for a small fee, excuse the pun, but we know that Sunderland are not going to be outright available to spend 19 to 20 million euros. But the reason why this is fantastic and interesting to talk about is Betis, who were very, very clear on Le Fée a little bit earlier on in the window, have pulled out, and apparently they're not interested in pursuing the deal with Le Fée, but Sunderland are still there, and there is talk about him potentially wanting to move back to France, but you just wonder if the manager at Sunderland can convince him. But it would look like it's going to be a loan to buy, and the implication of that buy would definitely be Sunderland getting to the Premier League. But the thing is, if you are a Sunderland fan, you are looking at this guy and thinking that he can drive you into the top 2. Quite simply. And the basic level is, everybody, if Sunderland can secure this deal, they have a Premier League talent in the Championship, of which I feel Sunderland need right now. They need not only depth, but they need that quality as well, especially when they're going up against 3 teams in Leeds United, in Burnley and Sheffield United, who all have the privilege right now of parachute payments. If Sunderland can get a deal like this done, it gives them a massive marginal gain. The short-term vision is for Sunderland. They've won the January transfer window if they bring someone like this in. It adds depth to the midfield. It adds an abundance of quality. He can play, in my opinion, in multiple positions right there. And that's sort of signed, sealed and delivered. And when it comes to the long-term vision, when you're looking at Sunderland, you've got a Premier League ready player there. When you look at Sunderland's side right now, if Sunderland were to go up, it'd probably be quite similar to that of Ipswich. They'd need a hell of a lot of additions. There might be 1 or 2 in that squad that can acclimatise. Chris Rigg is a fantastic player. Joe Bellingham is a fantastic player, but can they acclimatise to Premier League football, which is 5-6 levels up at this moment in time? It is too good. You've seen Ipswich spend 100 million quid and a lot of quality, but they're struggling right now. They're struggling to keep their head above water. Sunderland, if they bring in someone like Enzo Le Fée and have an obligation or an option to sign at the end, have a Premier League ready player there. Not a certainty, but with his quality on display and what we've seen in his career, they have nearest to what they've got in that squad. I also think it's a symbol of ambition. If Sunderland are to do this and it's a loan to an obligation potentially to sign him or an option to sign him, I think it's a symbol of intent as well. Not only, has the model worked and that they're identifying players of which no other team is really looking at, in terms of like a lot of other teams at the top are looking at domestic players. Sunderland are looking abroad and afar to maybe get good value for players and get good quality players through the door as well for good value. It really signals that Sunderland are going up to the Premier League to stay in the Premier League and not to come back down and get Championship ready. Now, potential risks. It's not all good for Sunderland fans. Now, can he acclimatise? He hasn't acclimatised to Serie A. It's just a fact. He's only played 10 games as of now, and he's struggling a little bit to get into that Roma side, even if he is of high quality, 24 years of age, and is that deep line playmaker who's a bit of a Swiss Army knife in that midfield, and we're all jealous a little bit. Even though that is the case, you do have to look at it and think, is he going to acclimatise to a Championship standard, which is the best second-tier standard in world football? As of the 29th of September, he's had collateral ligament damage. This can be big injuries. He's had injuries as well whilst he's been in France. they do have to consider this. Sunderland will consider this, but I think the risk right now is worth the reward. And will the weight of expectation override him? Will he be able to come down to the second tier of English football, perform, and get Sunderland, a massive club at this level with a massive fan base? Will he be able to get that club to the next level? He has to acclimatise. Sunderland is a place in this country as well that is northeast. It is a little bit cold. Look, I'm a northerner myself. I know how cold it can be up there and just in the north in general. Will he be able to acclimatise to that and just the lifestyle in Sunderland? We'll have to wait and see if that does happen. For me, every transfer comes with its risk. And this one, reward far outweighs it. So for me, the final verdict is this is perfect for Sunderland. This would be the signing of the season, not just the January transfer window. And I think this would be completely perfect. And it fits everything from a short-term vision with Sunderland to a long-term ambition as well. It's a real symbol of intent. Now, guys, I really appreciate you watching this video. If you could consider subscribing, that would be amazing. More videos like this to come. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.